Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. It's been a little while since I've been live with you guys, or at least it's been a little while since I've done so with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And by the way, oh boy, what a great way to go and start off. Thank you, Jay Monty, for being today's new fish, or at least to go and initiate that. But I'm just wondering, folks, how are you all doing since the last time we've done this live? Now, I know that last week I did something a little bit different where technically, because there hasn't been enough animation news, I decided to go and skip that week. And instead, I went and did a recorded episode where I would go and talk about the biggest entertainment news, or some could say the biggest news that happened during that time, which was the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel, which resulted in one of, if not Disney's biggest backlash that they have ever received. And trust me, even though I called it a mini episode and it went on for like a whole hour, I just gotta say that, oh boy, did I let out some steam on that one. Like right afterwards, like I just needed to rest after that. But still, though, I am glad to see that nowadays there is a happy ending to it, where Jimmy Kimmel is back on TV. He's back being his usual self. No censorship was added onto his show afterwards or anything like that. And there's even a happier ending where not only Disney and ABC caved, but also Nexstar and Sinclair also caved, where they also put on Jimmy Kimmel. So everything is restored and back to normal, and hopefully Disney has learned their lesson. Or, oh, did I just get another, yeah, it looks like I did receive another fish here, another new fish with Meta Ralph. Thank you so much. But yeah, so that whole story was already done. I'm glad that I was able to go and take care of that by putting my commentary on the whole piece. But thankfully, now we are here and we are back to normal, or at least as normal as AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast can be, where we are going to be checking out a bunch of trailers and some fascinating animation news and entertainment news. Trust me, the interactivity of all this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be quite fascinating to see what we are going to get into. So with all that said, now it is time. I'm going to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Who is ready to start this episode off? All right, let's see now. Yes, I see people are prepared. People are ready. Okay. Do we have more people prepared? I just want to see. Yes. All right. Oh, yes, I see people are prepared. I see people are ready. That is beautiful. All right. So now, with all that said, it is now time that we are going to go and get things started. And with our first story, or actually with our first batch of stories that we got here, we're going to be checking out some trailers because there's been a good bunch that came out, but I'm going to be looking into 3 specifically that really do stand out. And first and foremost, I am going to be checking out what Netflix is preparing for what they hope to be their biggest animated movie of this year. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, AniMat, you can't really say that considering that their biggest animated movie already came out with K-pop Demon Hunters. Well, that is technically true. And I mean, well, with the success that it had during the summer, that speaks for itself. But Netflix did not plan that to be a major success. With this movie, on the other hand, this is the one that they've really been hyping up for. So much so that this is not going to be the first trailer of this movie that we are about to see. And this is not even to mention, they've already done a bunch of press events for this particular feature to really go and hype this up, hoping that if people loved what they saw with K-pop Demon Hunters, then hopefully they will bring in even more bigger numbers with what we are about to watch. So, without further ado, let's go and begin by checking out our first trailer as we take a look at what's going to be coming up with the upcoming Netflix animated feature, In Your Dreams.
Hey, want to see a magic trick?
Why do you have to be so annoying?
What a weird kid.
And that is In Your Dreams, to which the movie is going to be coming out on Netflix on November 14th. Now, as I stated before, this is really one that Netflix is hyping up. In fact, it is extremely rare that they would go and make more than one trailer for their movies, or especially like over time. And I mean, the fact that we're even getting a second trailer and it's still quite early, it's still about like what, a month and a half away until the movie's release as I am recording this, that is definitely much more marketing that we have seen compared to K-pop Demon Hunters, which I think only just had one trailer before the movie came out and that's it. And what's even crazier is that the fact that this movie got a second trailer already, and it's not coming out until November, and yet we have yet to see, or we have seen a few things, but we have yet to get an actual trailer from the Twits. And I'm bringing that movie up because that film is supposed to be coming out in like a few weeks, I think. Like not even in a month. Like somewhere in mid-October, that's when Netflix is going to be bringing up their Roald Dahl adaptation of the Twits, and we have yet to get any sort of trailer for that particular movie. And yet, they're already spending a lot of their marketing energy to go and highlight In Your Dreams. And I remember that I did talk about the first trailer when that came out a while back, and I remember I was pretty open to it. Like, I didn't want to go and immediately dismiss it as of yet, because I remember that first trailer, it did get into a bit of controversy. It did get some backlash where people really did not enjoy it. In fact, as we have seen, there's been a lot of these clips in that trailer that also appeared in the first, including I guess you could say the infamous naked dream scene, in which like everybody is naked and then suddenly Elliot comes in, like his private parts are blurred out, and then like Baloney Tony also appeared with like his lower region blurred out. And I mean, I will say, like, I think at best I did say that the trailer was cute, like, or the first trailer. And I will say there are some of those things that I mentioned, like the positive notes, that I would still go and apply to here. Like, first and foremost, I do get the concept that they were going with, you know, like to have this animated movie that's about trying to find the Sandman, but you would have to go through layers and layers of different dreams that would have their own art style and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, I could see where you're going with that. I see why you would want to go and make an animated feature that's all about dreams and that you could be experimental with different art styles. And we do see that, of course, like with the, you get to experience that with the world of food, or there's even one time where they're on a boat. Like they're on a boat and there's like a giant fish that would crush them. Or even like this one here where they're kind of like in this arcade-like area. So there are those different dreams, and like you see a little bit of different art styles that's going on. And speaking of art styles, that's another thing that I want to go and say that so far it's very impressive. It's the animation. It really does look very solid. I think this is one of those where Netflix asked Sony Pictures Imageworks in order to go and produce the animation. And so far, it does look very nice. It does, like you got the contrasting styles where with the main kids and the real world, like with Elliot and Stevie, that they're a little bit more realistic. And then you got some of the more cartoony elements that are in the dream world. Like, okay, that's actually very nice. That is actually pretty cool. And I could see a lot of good work that is put into it. But at the same time, though, one thing that I will say is that I do, from watching this trailer, I do understand why there are some people out there who are not excited for this movie, where there are those who watch this and they're begrudgingly not excited, or their enthusiasm is quite low when they saw this. And honestly, I do get it, because I'm just going to say the weakest part of what we have seen here is the comedy. Like, okay, yeah, sure. When the first trailer came out, some of it is pretty cute. I could see that it might have some charm, but then revisiting it again, especially when a lot of the gags from that first trailer also did show up here. Like, honestly, they're not as effective. And while they don't give me like any bad indications, or that, they don't annoy me as much, I have a feeling like they give me a feeling that if it continues, then I might end up getting annoyed. Like, a prominent example is actually with Elliot at the beginning. Honestly, like, he's not bothering me as of yet, but if this is how he's going to be throughout the feature, then yeah, there's going to be a certain point where he's going to get on my nerves. And I do recall saying that I did like the little joke where he tries to be like Houdini with this disappearing act, like right over here.
Magic!
I can see your crack, Houdini.
Like, okay, when I first saw it, I thought like, okay, that's a little bit cute. I did like that little execution with him scooching over, like from there. But now it's just like, I see it again and it's just, nah, it doesn't work as well as it did before. But especially if there is one indicator that I feel like, oh boy, this ain't gonna go well, it's right when we are introduced to the main comic relief here, Baloney Tony. And just from watching Baloney Tony and his comedic antics, honestly, they haven't been working so far. Like, I don't know. It's just from the gags that he's been spilling out, trying to be more the sassy comic relief with a black actor playing him, which I believe in this case, he's being played by Craig Robinson. You could go and correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, basically he's just coming in as the Craig Robinson comic relief, and just a lot of his jokes just doesn't really work out. I've just not been a fan of the gags that he's been presenting in his trailer, especially like even right at the end. I just felt like that gag, it just felt like it was going on for too long. Like when he's about to do kung fu, and then it turns out he's just doing doing laser farts, like this part.
Epic fireball!
Yeah, I don't know, that didn't really work out for me. Like, I want to see a good movie, but I'm doubting if this would even be one. But on top of that, there are also a few things I gotta say, like, in this trailer, they do reveal a little bit more about what the plot is going to be, including, like, the quest to go and find the Sandman, and we're also introduced to the antagonist of this feature, which turns out to be an evil dark entity that they call Nightmare or something, and honestly, Like that I'm not really much of a fan either, because okay, you want to go and make your own lore of the Sandman. That's fine. That's cool. But now I feel like by bringing in Nightmare over here, it feels like they're starting to get into the territory of copying a bit from Rise of the Guardians. Like now you're introducing those aspects to go in and try to like create, they're starting to like make their own lore by copying someone else's lore. And I know that with Rise of the Guardians, technically, like their villain there is the Boogeyman, but still though, it's like you do get a little bit of the same vibes, like this is like the bringer of nightmares, kind of like the same way that the Boogeyman in Rise of the Guardians would be about like bringing in nightmares to kids. As some people have mentioned in the chat wall, Pitch Black. So I don't know. It's just like it's giving me that kind of impression where it's like, it's not like at the point where I would say that this is a ripoff of Rise of the Guardians. I am not saying that at all. But now it just feels like they're like, now those elements are starting to feel a little bit familiar. But then again, if they can pull off their own lore, if they can pull off like an interesting backstory for both the Sandman and Nightmare, then they could be able to make it work and have their own vision of what the dream world is. Like there's a way that you can like turn this around and make the world building absolutely work. But I would say overall, with the trailer that I've seen, at best, it's honestly very hit and miss. I do see a lot of the potential that they would be presenting with this, especially again with the concept and especially with the animation. And I'll even include that, well, there could be some heart as well. I don't know how they're going to go and connect this together, like with the dream world and what's happening with the reality. But I do notice that like the big mission, especially for Stevie, is to make sure that her parents can stay together, considering that it's already been known before that this will have a prominent theme of divorce. So like, I do see that it does have a good amount of materials that can actually make a pretty strong animated feature. So I do admire the concept and the materials that they have for this. I could see that it could probably go in an absolutely great direction. And not to mention the animation so far, it's been looking pretty great. It does look quite beautiful. And there are some shots in this that I will say are quite awe-inspiring. And I could imagine like when there are going to be times that maybe when we will go into the Sandman's domain, like it'll be quite amazing. Like again, with the animation, they got the materials to make something that can look absolutely beautiful. It's just in regards to the characters and the comedy is where my biggest concerns are, because this trailer, at the very least, does not give me a good impression of how the characters are going to be. Some of them, especially with Baloney Tony, they feel they feel like they can get very annoying. Like, they're like, at the most, they're just a tiny bit annoying, but not at the point where they have gotten on my nerves yet. But if this is going to be the attitude that Baloney Tony or Elliot is going to display throughout the feature, then yeah, that would be an indicator for me that this is not going to be a pleasant experience. So honestly, I'm hoping that it will prove my cynicism wrong. Like, I do have some doubts, but I want my doubts to be proven wrong, in which this movie could probably turn out to be a great experience overall. But so far from what I've seen with this trailer, and now thinking back with the first one as well, it's just, yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like, again, at best, I just feel like this is a hit and miss for me. But just keep in mind, for those of you who are curious, keep in mind that In Your Dreams will be coming out on Netflix on November 14th. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, What do you all think about the trailer of In Your Dreams? Are you guys excited for it? Did this trailer convince you that this is going to be great? Or do you have more doubts than I do if this is even going to be worthwhile? Do you think this might end up becoming a disaster? In fact, I'm going to go and ask you all an interesting question. I'm going to go on Twitch right over here, and I'm going to go and put up a little poll in which, hold on a sec, I'm going to go and ask you all, will you be watching In Your Dreams? So I'm going to go and write down yes. I'm going to go and write down no, and we'll see what the chat wall will have to say here. All right, so let's see what we got. Honestly, this just does not look great all around. The characters and the humor are so far juvenile and kind of annoying. The plot sounds rather derivative, and I bet that in the long run, Netflix is going to kick themselves for trying to place all their bets on this instead of K-pop Demon Hunters, much like Sony placing their bets on the Karate Kid Legacy sequel earlier this year. Yeah, remember when that was a thing? Yeah, me neither. Oh, yeah, honestly, I kind of forgot about that as well, that, oh, yeah, there was a new Karate Kid movie that came out this year. Like, I recall there was, like, a new Karate Kid, but it's like, oh, yeah, that was literally just a few months ago. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm mixed on this trailer. The animation and the concepts are great, but the humor turns me off. I swear, only one joke was remotely funny. I'm not thinking that this will suck. Again, I will give props to the animation and the concept of all this, but the humor is going to sink this ship. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's underwhelming. Yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily going to be the worst animated feature that we got this year. I mean, so far, it does look more impressive than the new Smurfs movie that we had, but still, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything that would be legitimately great. Let's see here. An animated film that focuses on divorce should not be hard. How the hell did Netflix fumble it twice? The animation is very nice, but the jokes are rather weak, and the characters are extremely annoying. It doesn't look as bad as Spellbound, but I'm not going in with high hopes. Also, is it just me, or is anyone else getting over the moon vibes? Like, Elliot is just straight up Chin. Well, that is the funny thing, considering that I think the same thing with Over the Moon. That's another Netflix animated feature in which the animation was done at Sony Pictures Imageworks. So, I mean, it could probably happen that some of the same people who worked on Over the Moon would end up finding themselves working on In Your Dreams and have some of those similar kind of aesthetics. And especially that we are talking about these kids going on this dreamlike, fantastical adventure. So there are like little pieces of the narrative that can feel similar. So yeah, you know what, you do bring up a good point with Over the Moon. And not to mention that this might be a hot take. I did not like Chin in Over the Moon. Like, that kid got quite annoying. And I mean, considering the vibes that I got with Elliot in the trailer that we just saw here, it could end up becoming the same thing. All right, let's see, what other comments do we have? Oh, actually, before I continue, we got the results of the poll here, and it looks like most of you have actually said, no, you're not going to be checking out In Your Dreams, considering that 68% of you who have voted have said, no, you're not going to watch it, while 32% have said yes. All right. Now, let's see what else we got. In Your Dreams looks like it's going to be a fun movie. The animation looks good during the dream sequences, but I'm not a big fan of those pop songs used in the trailer, and please stop that naked scene. Also, another animated movie, The Twits, is also coming out on October 17th. Where is the trailer, Netflix? Yeah, exactly. That was what I was talking about before. The fact that, like, we have yet to get an actual trailer of The Twits. Like, yeah, maybe we got a few images, but not like a full-on trailer. And it's going to be coming out much, like, not just soon, but like sooner than you think. October 17th is not far from where we are, folks. I mean, like, my birthday is just around the corner, so keep that in mind. All right, I think I got time for one more comment to go and read. So, Let's see. All right, I'll just go with this one here. Honestly, this trailer didn't really impress me that much. While I do like the animation style and it has some interesting ideas, the humor weighs it down and the characters feel annoying. So overall, I think this might be a pass for me. Also, why did they have to show that naked scene again? And once again, to quote Plankton, good grief, they're naked! I don't know, maybe the people at Netflix thought that this is going to be a big seller in terms of the gags and in terms of the movie. If you want to go and check this movie out, you want to go and see it for that naked dream scene. And if you do want to do so, then you might end up becoming a part of a police watch list, just letting you know. All right, but anyways, for those of you who are actually curious about In Your Dreams, then keep in mind it will be coming out on Netflix on November 14th. All right, we're going to go on to our first break, and when we do come back, we are going to go and check out another trailer where this may not necessarily be animated, but it definitely is very anticipated. And even I am actually quite curious to see what this is about, especially with what they are showing with the other side, with the other prominent character of this feature. So stay tuned, and we will be discussing about one of the most anticipated sequels coming out later this year. All right, welcome back. Now, just by looking at the chat wall during the break, I noticed that many of you have suggested different trailers that actually came out, considering that it is true, there were a lot of trailers that were released in the past week. And some people have thought that what I was hinting towards is that I was possibly going to talk about the new trailer for Avatar: Fire and Ash, or maybe the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. And to be very honest, I kind of forgot that those trailers were also released, and I mean, those are some good suggestions, but obviously that's not what I'm gonna be talking about. No, instead, I am talking about another live-action sequel that is very anticipated that's going to be coming out this year. In fact, the clue of coming out this year would have indicated that no, I'm not going to talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu. And this is one in which I believe I've already talked about this in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, or at least I did talk about it with the other trailers that did come out before. But this time around, they have come back with one final trailer before the movie does get officially released in November. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the trailer, or the final trailer, if you will, of the upcoming conclusion to the not the anticipated, but to the fan favorite musical, Wicked for Good.
Couldn't be happier.
It's more important than ever.
Think of what we could do together.
And that is Wicked for Good, to which the movie is going to be coming out in theaters on November 21st. Now, just to give you a quick refresher on my thoughts on Wicked, now one thing to go and keep in mind is that I am still technically a beginner when it comes to Wicked. I have, of course, I didn't read the original book, and also I'm not as familiar with the Broadway show. I haven't seen the Broadway show. At the most, I've only heard a few songs prior, like Popular, for example. And that's only during the time when I was in theater school, and some of the more theater-obsessed peers of mine were singing some of the songs, like just for practicing purposes and stuff like that. But I did end up watching the first movie at the end of last year. And I mean, it is a very solid musical. It is fantastic. Maybe it went on a little too long, especially with the fact that it is only a part one and it's like 3 hours long. So of course, at that point, the running time does kind of take its toll a little bit. But other than that, it definitely is a great musical as is, especially with the performances of Cynthia Evero. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Trust me, sometimes I would get that name wrong, but hopefully I did get it right. Some people have clarified, by the way, the time is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Still, though, that's still long. That's still like close to 3 hours. But again, keep in mind, like that's 2 hours and 40 minutes of a part one. It's pronounced Evero. Okay, so it's Cynthia Evero. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah. But as I was saying, I do love the performances of Cynthia Evero and Ariana Grande. Like, they were wonderful in this. And I gotta say, when it comes to this trailer, I will say that I was very fascinated with the fact that there was a lot of focus specifically on Glinda, like seeing her side of the story, not necessarily like going back and just seeing from her perspective and everything, but basically seeing more of her journey of how she became Glinda the Good Witch and how that image was ultimately built up. And that is especially in the beginning, where we see how she would go and get her like her little bubble car, or the bubble throne that she would go and travel around. And also with how she is trained by Michelle Yeoh to go and be portrayed as like the good witch for the people of Oz. Like, basically, how is it that the heads of Oz are pushing the propaganda that Glinda is good and Elphaba is the bad witch? And not to mention that we see that the friendship is being challenged at times because of their new roles, because of Glinda's complex position, where now, considering that she has to become Glinda the Good Witch, that she has to go and fight for her people, per se. And that's especially the case where we see when both Elphaba and Glinda are next to the house, actually. Like, yeah, with this part here, I'm just going to go and back up a little bit, like here.
Figured out people expect me to fly. Be encouraging.
Like, you see now that there are going to be times where, yeah, the two are gonna go and clash out, and we do see a fight. But what's also very fascinating is that I remember during that day where not only did they release like the new trailer, but at the same time, they also put up some new images. And one thing that was highlighted was actually the fact that we do get to see that now this is going to be set entirely in The Wizard of Oz, specifically with, yeah, like, as you can see, like right behind Elphaba is Dorothy's broken house. So now we are going to be at the point where it's going to be set at the same time as the story that we all know, where, yes, we are going to see from time to time, like, the two stories are going to be crossing paths, but now we're going to see, like, what's happening on the other side. Like, as Dorothy goes through Oz and meets with the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, and then meet the wizard and stuff like that, now we're going to see the other side with the witches, with Glinda and Elphaba, and what have they been doing during that time, where on one hand, Glinda is promoting the propaganda to give peace to, and well, in her words, actually, to be encouraging to the people of Oz, where Elphaba, on the other hand, is trying to go and break that propaganda to go and say that the wizard lies, and she is on her own mission to go and save the animals. Considering that, at least in the first movie, that's her biggest motive, to go and protect the talking animals, because, well, the people of Oz are kind of not undermining, or I wouldn't say, I don't know if tormenting would be too much to say, but basically basically the people of Oz, or the heads of Oz, are going against the animals. So by that point, we are going to see, we're going to see more of that motive. In fact, like we already see like that part, where was it? There was at one point we see the animals being freed, and then Michelle Yeoh, like this part, like with this. Yeah, there we go.
This is the work of the Wicked Witch.
Like we got Michelle Yeoh trying to blame everything onto Elphaba, the same way that we are seeing the US leaders trying to blame all the world's problems onto trans people and immigrants. So there is that metaphor that you do notice in this. But of course, like one of the major reasons you want to go and check this out is to hear more of the songs, to hear more of what was sung on Broadway now is going to be sung again in a more movie-like spectacular fashion, thanks to Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. And we've gotten like little bits and pieces, like with No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, or singing For Good also. And like you could tell that they are going to be grand as well. Like you could tell this, like they are going to be spectacular. So honestly, overall, I don't know what else that I could go and add to this, considering that there's already stuff that I've mentioned that already looks fantastic. And at the same time, with this right over here, like considering that this is just going to be more of what we have already gotten with the first Wicked movie, personally, I'm definitely excited to see what is in store with this one. I was already very impressed with the first movie, and now seeing what they're going to be bringing in with Wicked for Good, to see the second act, to see this all come together. Honestly, I feel like this is going to be a great highlight for the end of this year. So I'm definitely excited to see. This is going to be like one of my must watches. Like I'll definitely do my best to try to check this out before the year ends, or maybe if I'm lucky enough, like if I do have enough time during that moment, I'll see if I can go and get into that before I go and check out Zootopia 2, which is going to be close at the same time. You'll get what I mean when I get into that one. But yes, if you guys are hyped up to go and check out Wicked for Good, then all you have to do is wait until November 21st, when it will be coming out in theaters. And with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the Wicked for Good final trailer? Are you guys excited for it? What is it that really got you hyped up when seeing this trailer, or do you have more doubts than what I'm expressing here? Let me know what you all think. And you know what? Let's go and make another poll, and I might as well go and ask you all on this one. Let me see here. All right, there. That's how you do it. So I'm just going to go and ask, will you be watching Wicked for Good? So let me go and write down yes, and now let me write down no, and let's see what you all have to say. All right, so what do we got here? All right. Honestly, I'm on the same page as you, where I was never into the story of The Wizard of Oz or the musical. Well, I never technically expressed that. Hold on a sec. But this one, I'm very anticipating to see how it will all end. Honestly, if there's one thing I hate about the first film other than its length, it ends on a cliffhanger. All I anticipated for is if there would be a happy ending. The songs and the villains meet justice to their antisocial role. I can really see this differ to being like the 39 film meets the Prince of Egypt. Okay, yeah, about that. Well, number one, I will say, I didn't say that about specifically The Wizard of Oz. I mean, the 1939 film is an absolute classic. Maybe not necessarily my all-time favorite, but I mean, like, of course, I do admire, like, what it has done, both the movie itself and the impact that it has left. And in terms of, like, if you want a happy ending, I'm just gonna say now, don't go and watch it. Even like, keep in mind with the first movie, it actually did start out by saying that the Wicked Witch is dead. Like, the beginning of the film is technically the ending of the story, where the Wicked, all the Munchkins were celebrating that the Wicked Witch is dead, and Glinda just came in celebrating with them. And then she begins telling the story of her relationship, or at least reminiscing back to her relationship with Elphaba. So yeah, just gonna say right now, if you want a happy ending, don't go and watch Wicked for good. I'm just saying. All right, let's see now. With a lot of problems I had with Wicked do stem from the second act, this looks absolutely amazing. The lighting is a little rough in some areas, but the heart of the musical is still on full display, and the renditions of the songs are top-notch. This is going to be a must-watch, mostly because my whole family loves Wicked, so chances are I have no choice. Not that I'm complaining, of course. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's gonna, that sounds very nice. You're gonna have like a little family get-together during the holiday season, and you're gonna do so by watching Wicked for good. I don't see why not at that point. Honestly, I don't think I could say the same with my family, because I don't know. I'm sorry to do this to my own mother, to call her out, but honestly, she has a hot take where she is not a fan of Wicked. Like, she told me that she went to see that on Broadway one day, and she didn't really like it all that much. So if I'm going to go and see Wicked, or if I'm going to go and see Wicked for good, I'm not going to do so with my family, unfortunately. And it looks like I do have the results here, and very interestingly enough, it's very similar to the results that I got on the In Your Dreams poll, but in reverse, where 68% of you who have voted actually said, yes, you are going to see Wicked for good, while 32% of you have said, no, you are not. Very interesting results right there. All right, let's see what else we got here. I absolutely love the first Wicked, and it was a great movie musical, and this looks like this will be a worthy conclusion, like how they are staying true to the musical and adding new elements to it. Visually, it looks phenomenal, and the action is excellent, so overall, I'm very excited for this, and if this does live up to the hype, hopefully it'll be a big Oscar contender like the original was. Honestly, I don't know if it will, or at least not as much. I can imagine it will be a contender, but I don't know if we are going to see like the same nominations like they did with the last one. Like, maybe they will with with the production design or stuff like that, but I don't know if it would be considered cheating if we're going to get Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande also nominated for their roles. I mean, they were amazing, and they were like some of the best parts of the first movie, but and hopefully they will be the best parts of the second film as well, but getting nominated again, I don't know. I feel like it would be a little bit sus for the Oscars to go and do that, or for award season in general to make that happen. Let's see what else we got here. What other comments? I love the first Wicked, even as someone who's never seen the show, and this does look very promising so far, but I'm pretty certain it's not going to be as good, since most people who didn't like the show have said that the second act is where the majority of the problems lie. But hopefully it'll still turn out great, and it won't be another It Chapter 2 situation of being a major downgrade. Yeah, let's hope that is not the case, or I mean, if you want a prominent example, go with Joker. But then again, I mean, the first Joker didn't necessarily set a high bar, but I mean, still though, with that film going from the first to the second, it's like, oh boy, wow, that thing fell hard. Okay, let's see what other comments are there. Well, surprisingly enough, there's not as much as I thought. Surprising. Let's see. This trailer is wickedly phenomenal. The visual effects were spectacularly breathtaking, character development expanded, and the story is going to be epic. Most hyped up. Yeah, and that's one thing I haven't mentioned though, but I mean, like, that's something that can already be said about the first. Like, the first already laid down like the beautiful visual aesthetic of how both of these movies are. Like the costume design, I mean, already that speaks for itself, being a big Oscar winner right there. The production design, the visual effects, like they definitely do look fantastic. Like, if nothing else, this is an absolutely beautiful movie, and it's one of the best looking Oz's that we've had in a long time. Like, this is one of the best, like, you know, one of the best worlds of Oz that we have experienced in a movie in such a long time. Like, like in terms of that, they really set a great high bar, and I think that's going to be another great thing to go and experience when we do come back to this movie. Is to return to that particular Oz, to go back to that production design, to go back to all the visual effects that they have in there, you know, and especially like to see more action also, because you can imagine now that it is established that Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West, we'll probably see a good amount of action. In fact, they did tease it already, that we are going to see Elphaba fighting back. Like, where is it? Like, we've seen the battle going on. Yeah, like this part. Wait, is it that part? Actually, no. Well, there was a part where, like, no, I think it was right over here.
Called the Wicked Witch.
No, not there. Yeah, this one. Like this one, where Elphaba is flying around and she's got her broom and just like bam, bam, bam. You know, like that is going to be exciting. So there's going to be a lot that this movie is going to offer. Let me see if there are any other comments. Surprisingly enough, no. All right. So I think at this point we could go and conclude this talk of the trailer here. So once again, if you are excited to go and check out Wicked for Good, then keep in mind that the movie shall be released on November 21st in theaters. All right, now with that said, it is now time we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, well, we got another final trailer that we are going to go and watch. And coincidentally enough, it is actually a final trailer for a sequel that is very much anticipated, and that it is going to be coming out around the same time as Wicked for Good. So stay tuned, because we are going to be going back into animation. We're going to be leaving Oz and we're going to go on to Zootopia. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, for our final trailer that we are going to look into, and I'm not saying this because, well, technically this is the final trailer for this movie, but also this is going to be the last trailer that I'll be talking about in this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. We are going to be looking upon, yes, another movie that has a lot of similarities to what we have just seen with Wicked for Good. But before I go and actually get into that, I just want to go and mention that with this trailer in particular, this is actually a last-minute addition to this episode. As I am recording this trailer actually came out today. In fact, crazy enough, Disney decided that today they're just going to go and make some big announcements in relation to animation. Not only releasing this trailer here, but also they have revealed that yes, there will be a Simpsons movie 2 that's going to be coming out specifically on July 23rd, 2027. Yes, many people have waited for quite a long time to see if a sequel to the Simpsons movie can actually happen, and Disney today has now confirmed it is indeed going to be real. However, I'm just going to go and say right now that no, I will not be talking about it, because honestly, that's literally all that we know. That there is going to be a Simpsons movie 2, and that it is going to be coming out on July of 2027. That's it. In terms of the details of what's going to be in it, what the story is going to be about, or like who's going to be featured in there, like any additional details and stuff like that, honestly, we don't have a clue. So it's just that little bit of announcement that we've gotten from that. But hey, it is worth mentioning in here. But since I'm not going to be talking about that animated sequel, I'm going to be talking about this animated sequel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the final trailer for the upcoming anticipated sequel to Zootopia, also known as Zootopia 2.
At the ZPD, partnership is the cornerstone of success.
No, carrots, whoa!
A zoo?
And that is Zootopia 2, to which the movie is going to be coming out in theaters on November 26th. And when it comes to this trailer of Zootopia 2, I mean, I've already talked a good bunch of Zootopia 2 in this podcast, from the announcement to the previous trailers that they came out, and now we got the final trailer before it's going to be officially released in just under 2 months as I am recording this. And with this one that we got over here, it feels like, imagine the first teaser trailer that we have received, and now that has pretty much fleshed out to show us how it is going to look like in the actual movie. I feel like with this trailer, what they did here is that they pretty much made a quick little summary of what you're going to get. Just getting like little bits and pieces of just about everything. Of course, you got the story, in which they started by establishing in regards that a big theme of this movie is going to be partnership, in which this movie will really go and test out Nick and Judy's relationship. And I don't mean like relationship, I mean with them as partners in crime. And that was already established in the first full trailer that we have gotten, in which we see them in partnership therapy. And we see how there are going to be some things that are going to be pretty rocky in terms of how the dynamic of the two are going to be. So, of course, that's going to be this prominent theme that will be going on. But then suddenly there's going to be this twist in which suddenly we meet up with Gary the Snake, who will be played by Ke Huy Quan. And already they're establishing him as another major prominent character in this, considering that with not Ke Huy Quan, but with Gary the Snake, he wants to go and try to prove that reptiles are not as bad as what the people of Zootopia think they are. And that instead of having them be completely segregated, what Gary wants to do is try to prove the snake's innocence so that his family can go and return home. So you got that element right there, where now there's like this bigger mystery that's going to be going on, like a real massive one that that with Nick and Judy, they hope that they could go and try to reestablish the relationship between reptiles and with mammals that are already in Zootopia, and ultimately go and answer the big question: where have the mammals been in the world of Zootopia? So it will also play a significant factor in terms of the world building. But one thing I gotta say that I really enjoyed is how it gave us a little taste of each of the new characters. Of course, we did get one here with Gary, but then also we got a little taste also of the new mayor, the Patrick Warburton horse. And I gotta say, that was honestly, with the new characters, they also have the funniest bits in here. Like, they did give us a great first impression of how things are going to be, like with this one right here.
Do you know how many mayors they've already destroyed?
1, 2. I got up to 2.
Like, that was ultimately funny. And not to mention, it sounds like they're hinting out that the lynxes might actually be the villains of this feature, considering that they did reveal, it wasn't that long ago, they did reveal that there's some new actors that are going to be coming in, like Andy Samberg and Brandy Love, Macaulay Culkin, and more, that they're going to be playing these Lynx characters. But in here, it looks like the Lynxes, like I don't know if they're going to be full on and villains, but they sound like they're going to be and they might have an antagonistic role where maybe they have played a significant factor in segregating the reptiles from the mammals. So that could be a prominent part of the plot, and that is going to be something I'll definitely keep my eye on. That does sound like it's going to be. Oh, did I say the wrong name? Brenda Song. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I did mean to say Brenda Song. I do apologize for that, for the wrong name right there again. No, but for real though, you guys do understand what I mean. Like, you already got that interesting aspect, but also another thing that I also did like, or at least in terms of like the new characters, like one of my favorite scenes is actually with the beaver. Like, you then go into the more aquatic section of Zootopia, and the beaver is going around to go and like help them out. Like, right, yeah, like this part right over here.
And of the locals. Hey, bub.
Hey, bub.
Hey, bub.
Hey, bub. Hey, bub.
Hey, bub. Bubby, bub.
Hey, bub. Hey, bub. Hey, ho.
Hey, bub. Seen a snake?
Nope.
That I actually did like. That, honestly, it got me a good laugh right there. Honestly, that's one of those things that I feel like I want to do with my friends, you know, like at least like meet up with one of my friends, just go there like, hey bub, hey bub, hey bub, hey bub, hey bub, seen a snake? Nope. Oh, that was honestly pretty funny right there. That I actually did enjoy. And I mean, this is not to mention, like, with some of the other gags as well. Like, even straight afterwards, there was another good joke where they're in hot pursuit, and then you see, like, people relaxing underwater, like, right over here. Like, you see the chase going on, but it messes up, like, all the tables right there. Wait, am I able to control? Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, like with this part, like you still got the water physics that don't match up with, with having a restaurant and stuff. That honestly, that is cute. So you can tell that this movie is going to be very dedicated to the world building and to really go and expand upon Zootopia, which honestly, it is great. And honestly, with this trailer, with the little bits and pieces that we got, I mean, I've already been very excited for Zootopia 2, but this one, honestly, the more I think about it, the more I look into these scenes, the more that I really am hyped up. Debatably, I think I'm honestly more excited than I am with Wicked for Good. And honestly, with here, like, even with the little bits and pieces that they are showing us of what's going to be to come with the movie, with the relationship between Nick and Judy, and how their how their partnership is going to really be put to the test during this entire thing, and how it highlights that things are going to get pretty rocky for them. But then at the same time, you also got a new layer of Zootopia that we are really gonna go and learn, like to go and see more of it, like with new sections of Zootopia that we haven't been before, and also learning about other species that are in Zootopia that are not just mammals, that also reptiles are also part of this world, and that we're going to see like many different sectors as well, maybe both in and out of Zootopia. So that's also going to be a lot of fun. And not to mention, I can already hear in the background that we may have another banger of a song from Shakira, or technically from Gazelle. I will say, like, that song that they are playing, that is going to be like the new, or at least the sequel's version of Try Everything. Already that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So honestly, with everything they have presented, I'm definitely excited to see what's going to be in store with this movie. So if you guys are as hyped up as I am for Zootopia 2, then keep in mind that the movie shall be coming out later this year on November 26th. And with that said, now I would like to pass this on to you guys in the chat wall, and I want to go and ask, what do you all think of the final trailer of Zootopia 2? Does this make you as excited as I am? Are you hyped up for it? What were some of your favorite scenes? And if you did not like it, let me know what criticisms you have of this trailer. In fact, why don't we go and actually make something very interesting? Instead of asking you if you're going to go and watch Zootopia 2, because chances are many of you will, I want to go and actually ask, considering what we have seen with all these different trailers, I am going to go and ask you all which which trailer is your favorite? So I'll go and put down In Your Dreams, and then Wicked for Good, and then I'll put in Zootopia 2. All right. So I'll go and put this up, and I'll see what the chat wall has to say. All right. So I will say that this trailer explains the reason why reptiles are a major factor in Zootopia 2. Seems like that they are delivering the same quality and themes like the original, and knowing Disney Animation, they do put the effort into this. Overall, I'm waiting for tickets to be available. Oh, wow. Already you're thinking about pre-ordering. Dang. All right. Let's see. Honestly, this is a great trailer, and I'm glad they're sticking with the whole segregating idea with reptiles. And the new characters are great. Whether it be the Kronk horse or the beaver being in the cast, I feel like we need a movie like Zootopia 2 more than ever, considering what is going on. And to quote Kronk, oh yeah, it's all coming together. All right. Let's see. First of all, frying pans. Who knew? Yeah, and that was something that they actually did mention before. Just to quickly go back into the trailer. With this part over here.
I'm home.
Woo! Hops and Wiles. Dream team.
Like that frying pan that Nick had, that is actually not just a direct reference, but that is actually the same frying pan that was used in Tangled. I mean, it does make sense considering that Byron Howard has directed both the Zootopia movies and Tangled. So yeah, it's kind of surprising that out of all the different Disney references, the frying pan would suddenly make a comeback here. So that is definitely fun to see. Anyways, back to the comment that I was reading. Bring out the talking animals. I could say I'm anticipated to the max with this. Everything looks completely ambiguous to the point that this is giving out more questions than answers, like the reptiles living in exile, or if there's another sense of corruption with the mares, and not to mention the humor is a lot more fun in this. Like, tell you otherwise. You seeing this movie? Yep. Hype it up, people. All right, very nice. Let's see now. Heck yeah, we finally got the final trailer of Zootopia 2. The animation is still phenomenal. The jokes are entertaining and clever, way better than how In Your Dreams presents it. And the Patrick Warburton horse is the GOAT. I bet he'll be a major highlight for me in the sequel. I got nothing else to say, but I'll definitely be seated on day one when the sequel comes out. All right, very nice. I hope this helps give people some love with the first film, because I've seen a lot of critical re-evaluation with the first film. Aside from the dated depiction of the cops, there are people who feel like the themes of racism with carnivores and herbivores make no sense, and saying that it makes the world building complicated with how the predators can live in the universe. And all I'm seeing these takes and say, if you want a more adult on racism, go and watch Peacemaker, especially with the latest episode. Yeah, honestly, I don't really get the reevaluation, honestly. Considering how things are happening right now, I feel like the reevaluation is done by bad faith actors, and I don't mean just Disney haters, if you catch my drift. And by the way, we do have the results, and oh boy, it is almost unanimous with the poll. Among the 3 trailers that I have shown you, 92% of you who have voted have said that the best trailer, or the one that you would consider your favorite, is the Zootopia 2 trailer, while Wicked for Good managed to get 8% of the votes, and In Your Dreams literally got nothing. There is no love for In Your Dreams. Hey, but still, though, it really does show how strong Zootopia, how strong that trailer of Zootopia 2 is, and how strong the hype is for that feature. Let's see now. Zootopia 2 absolutely looks phenomenal. How it brings these memorable and lovable characters back brings a smile to my face. The animation is stellar. The world building and race allegory is building upon what worked in the first film. Great stuff. However, I can't help but still feel incredibly sour for how I personally feel with Disney after they recently effed up Jimmy Kimmel and Disney+. I am personally not ready to give Disney my money yet. And honestly, I completely understand. I mean, considering the recent controversy right there, it is still fresh. And I mean, I do understand if you want to separate yourself from Disney. I completely get it. That is perfectly fine. But still, though, I mean, like in my case, like, yeah, of course I'm going to go and watch it, especially when I'm going to go and do a review. But I mean, I guess this is going to be a case that, of course, we still need time to go and see if Disney did actually learn their lesson from what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. And again, a big test that we are going to see is with what Donald Trump proposed and wants to sue Disney for not abiding to his commands for canceling Jimmy Kimmel and silencing him because Jimmy is critical towards Donald Trump. If Disney is able to go and say no, then hopefully that'll show that they have wise enough and that they have strength enough where they're not just going to give in to fascism and white Christian nationalism and that kind of domestic terrorism nonsense. So there is that. So again, I understand if you're not a fan of Disney right now and you're still a bit bitter with what has recently happened, like best case best case, maybe get some time to let that wound to go and heal, but I get it. That's just what I want to go and say. Okay, let's see what else we got here now. Sorry, Disney haters, but the hype is still on. The first Zootopia is also one of my favorite Disney films of all time, and so far, it does look like, while obviously not as good as the first, still a great sequel. I also like that they're keeping the commentary with race relations, presumably with immigrants with the reptiles. I just hope the relationship conflict with Nick and Judy isn't as divisive as Ralph and Vanellope and Ralph Breaks the Internet, and people say they were bastardized. Yeah, I mean, if we need a reevaluation of a Disney movie, it should be Zootopia. It should be Ralph Breaks the Internet because, yeah, people were definitely hard. And I do agree it's not as good as the first Wreck-It Ralph, but of course with me, of course I don't think it's as bad as the way that the internet is portraying it. But then again, well, with the internet, the way they're portraying anything recent from Disney or anything like post 2017, like, of course they're going to have a massive bias and like throw all their hate for it. Let's see. I think maybe I'll read one more comment. If there is another comment to go and read, I'm just going to double check to be sure. Let's see. Oh, okay. I'll go with this one right here. I remember watching the first movie with my sister for preparing for the second movie. I thought the first movie was good. I'm so excited to see our Fox and Bunny on the big screen. Also, in my opinion, the new song for the movie gives me that it's time for Africa vibes. Kind of a strange opinion, but that's on me. So yeah. Honestly, I don't blame you. I can actually hear a little bit of that where kind of like the same feel and the same tempo. Like I can hear some similarities to It's Time for Africa. So I definitely do get it. So, with all that said, I can definitely see that out of all the trailers we have seen here, Zootopia 2 is getting the biggest amount of love. So, if you are hyped up to go and check the movie out, then keep in mind that the film will be released on November 26th in theaters. And with that said, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, well, now that we are done with the trailers, it is now time we are going to get into the news portion here. And with this one, well, it's going to be the surprise comeback of an older animated feature, or some could say a nostalgic animated feature. Considering that we did talk about a bunch of talking animals, we talked about talking mammals, talking reptiles, but now it is time we will get into the penguins, so stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story, we are going to go and discuss about a certain animated feature way back from 2007 called Surf's Up. Now, yes, I know that I am not a fan of the Sony Pictures animation movies prior to Into the Spider-Verse. But one movie that not only do I consider it the best one before Spider-Verse, but what I easily consider to be my favorite one from that era has to be Surf's Up. Maybe not like an amazing animated feature, not even the best animated movie of that year, considering that it came out at the same time as films such as Persepolis and Ratatouille, but it is still a very solid feature and a very creative one on its own, with the way that they presented this mockumentary style film where they would take a generic like underdog sports story and they would present it in a very fun and unique way that really managed to make it work. And you could really see the creativity that it brings in, both in terms of storytelling and with the animation as well. I feel like the team at Sony at the time, they did some fantastic work on that feature. Now, what I did not expect, however, is that I would suddenly hear the name of Surf's Up again. That somehow it would be back into relevancy because of a very unexpected announcement. Yes, we got the original film, and it did spun off the sequel that I will talk a little bit later. But now, it looks like we are going to be getting a Surf's Up series. Yes, Thunderbird Entertainment and its animation division, Atomic Cartoons, has officially announced that they are going to be developing Surf's Up the series, which will be based on the 2007 film. Now, one thing to go and note is that this is mostly just an announcement, and we don't really know a lot of the details that are in store. We don't necessarily know about who is going to be in the cast, and we don't know when this is going to be coming out. However, unlike the recent announcement of The Simpsons Movie 2, we do have extra bits of info in terms of what's going to be within the picture and who's going to be working on it. Or, well, I don't mean working in the picture, I mean working on the series. But anyways, in my source here on Deadline, there is actually a bit of a description of what this series is going to be about. And it says here, the series will follow an overconfident teen penguin named Flip, who teams a zany bunch of young surfers in his attempt to become a surf legend. Things go spectacularly wrong, and the wipeouts are spectacular, so they instead build their own surf community on Pengu Island. Characters from the movies such as Cody, Big Z, and Chicken Joe will return. And in terms of the people who are going to be working on this, so far we got the core team that's going to be involved, in which it says here that Lien Sawatsky, Dan Williams, and John Hazlitt, the trio behind the animated children's series The Guava Juice Show, are writing the adaptation and will serve as showrunners. Jennifer Twiner McCarran, CEO and chair of Thunderbird Entertainment, will exec produce alongside Atomic Cartoons' Joel Bradley and Aaron Bell and Sony's Rick Mischel. I think that's how you say his name. Mischel? Or Mischel? Or I'm going to go with Mischel. Kitty Walsh will be the co-executive producer for Atomic. And we do have a couple of quotes that I just want to go and read. The first one being from Aaron Bell, in which he states, Leanne, Dan, and John are passionate about only two things in life: penguins and surfing. It was undeniable that they were the writing team, pun intended, to adapt Surf's Up as a hilarious animated series. The right team. Okay, whatever. It's still a bad pun. I don't care. And then we also got another quote here, which is from Rick Mischel, in which he says, we're excited to be partnering with Atomic and their long history of bringing great intellectual property to series animation. Surf's Up is iconic, and we look forward to a whole new audience getting to know these characters. So, when it comes to Surf's Up, now that it is officially getting a TV series, it is unexpected, honestly, but, when I do think about it, I can imagine the potential that it has. And the fact that they're not going to go as like a straightforward series where we are going to see more adventures with Cody and Chicken Joe, not make it just that lazy kind of straightforward style of series. And instead, they're going to go and bring in like new characters, kind of like making this like a sequel spin-off series in a way where they're going to be focusing on new characters as they will try to go and become surfing legends in their own right. In a way, following the same kind of footsteps that we have seen with Cody and with Big Z. It does sound pretty interesting. But one factor that I've seen many people actually suggest, and honestly, yeah, I cannot imagine what other direction that they can go with it. Honestly, this is the perfect idea to go and bring back the mockumentary style series. Now, I know that when it comes to that kind of format, when you want to go and make like a TV comedy series, nowadays, I get it that it feels very tiring to go and do that mockumentary style, because back in the 2010s, it almost feels like almost every show just wants to be like the next Office or the next Park and Recreations and stuff like that. Like, it was a bit oversaturated with mockumentary comedy series. And it was something that not even the Muppets were able to go and actually execute well. But in the case of this series in particular, I feel like it would be perfect for it, considering that it's what the first movie did. It's the format of the first feature. That's what makes it unique. That's what makes it stand out. Like, they got into that mockumentary trend before most of these have done so. Like, they were able to really get into that and actually brought it not just in movie form, but also to bring it into animation form, which does add that layer of intrigue and creativity and excitement. And that's one thing I would like to see actually carry over onto this. Honestly, we've kind of passed like that time where like the mockumentary style was like the big trend. Like, we've moved on to it, but this one does have the excuse where they could bring that back, mainly because it's to stay true to the storytelling style of what was done in the original Surf's Up. So if they go with that, then I could see where like they could actually make this work out, where they could go and expand that style of storytelling that they have established in Surf's Up and just really play with it, just really be creative and try to find more of like what they can go and do, especially not just like with the new characters, but even to go and expand a bit upon the old characters from the movie, like not just with Cody and Chicken Joe, but especially hearing that Big Z is also going to be coming back. That I actually do find to be pretty cool, considering that Big Z was like completely absent. I don't think he was even mentioned in the second film. Like, now that he's going to return, all right, it does sound like they are going to stay true to the first movie, and most likely they're just going to stick to the first film. I don't think they're going to be referencing anything from that second feature whatsoever. But at the same time, though, I'm not going to go in and immediately hype myself up to really jump into this series like, oh boy, more Surf's Up, hooray! I'm not going to go and do that, because there are some things that I will admit is giving me a little bit of doubt, where I am acknowledging that there is that possibility that this thing could face its own wipeout, and it'll just be like a stupid one-season thing, and that's pretty much it. And I have two reasons for that. Number one, since I've already mentioned it, the last time we've had something from Surf's Up, it turned out to be, well, terrible. And I'm talking about specifically Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania, where it is a crossover between Surf's Up and WrestleMania, bringing in some of their all-stars and try to create this WrestleMania surfing movie that it just did not turn out great. And oh boy, it turned out to be quite a flop right there. Not to mention that it gave me one of the most traumatic images that I've seen from Sony Pictures Animation, and that is the image of the otter Vince McMahon dreaming of himself having a plate with a fish, and he's sucking out of his anus through a straw, and the fish is sexually enjoying it. And as the Vince McMahon otter says, apparently that's how he gets fish milk, which honestly is just horrific. It is horrible. No. Like, honestly, that is why I am hoping that, I'm hoping that Wave Mania would not be considered canon. We do not need to bring any of the wrestling references back. I don't care. I don't want a penguin John Cena or a penguin Underminer. I just don't want that otter Vince McMahon return with his idea of drinking fish milk in an oddly sexual way. No, just absolutely not. And I mean, considering the things that have been revealed about Vince McMahon, that I think honestly it would be the wisest decision to just not acknowledge WWE whatsoever, or just not acknowledge the sequel in any way. But still, though, it does. The point that I am making is that we have seen where, yes, Sony can definitely screw up with Surf's Up, or it is possible for something from Surf's Up to actually turn out to be bad. So that's why I have a bit of hesitancy with this series. And the second reason, by the way, is also from the fact that, let's be honest, when it comes to Sony animation movies being turned into an animated series, they generally suck. Or I would even say Sony Animation does not have a good track record when it comes to their TV shows, because just about all of them, they fall flat. They end up sucking, and they end up not surviving for that long. Okay, maybe like saying that all of them suck is honestly quite harsh. Maybe it's not necessarily true, but but it is true that most of them do kind of turn out to be flops. Like, even when they try to do something original, it just doesn't really work out. And a great example is maybe some of you remember a few years back, there was that Agent Elvis series. Like, Sony Animation wanted to make this adult animated series where it's about Elvis Presley, who turns out to be this secret agent, and they have this all-star cast where they even have Matthew McConaughey as Elvis, and that ultimately just did not last long. It only lasted for like one season, and that's it. And this is not even to mention about the shows that are actually based on their movies. Like, not long ago, out of nowhere, for some reason, we got an open season series that, honestly, that came and went. There was the Hotel Transylvania series that's kind of like a prequel that starred Mavis, and that was another one that kind of came and went as well. And not to mention, like, I did hear there was supposed to be another Hotel Transylvania series coming up on Netflix that's called Motel Transylvania, and yet I haven't heard anything since. I'm kind of surprised that Netflix didn't talk about it since the announcement, or we didn't hear anything about that thing. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised. It's like, is that actually happening? Is it still in development? I don't know. It's just that I feel like it's a little bit weird. Like, I was like, I think they mentioned it was supposed to be coming out in 2025, but I guess, you know, some delays have happened. But then, well, of course, there is one more series, and probably some people could say the most infamous of them all, the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball series. And that one, I can guarantee you, I don't think I've heard a single person say anything positive about that series in particular. So far from what people have been saying, how people watch the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball series, it's like how I've seen the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movies. So from there, that is definitely a bad sign, and that pretty much tells me, yeah, I'm going to avoid that crap at all costs. So, yeah. But honestly, though, if there is one show that I've actually heard some good things about that did come from Sony Pictures Animation, it would have to be Meet the Hearts, where it's an animated series that was on HBO Max that I believe was based on the Hair Love animated short. And from there, I don't know how long it lasts. I think it had like one season or it had two. But I did actually hear some good things about that one. So that's why it was wrong of me to say like, oh, all Sony animation shows suck. Because there were a few that did come out. And I have seen, Young Love. Is that what it's called? I thought it was Meet the Hearts or something like that. But anyways, as I was saying, the thing is that, yeah, like with Meet the Hearts or Young Love, I've heard some good things about that. And I did see people in the chat wall. They did say that Agent Elvis, well, like some people have said it was kind of decent. But other than that, though, yeah, the rest, like the Hotel Transylvanias, the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Open Season, yeah, those are like avoid at all costs. So that's why I have a little bit of trust issues when it comes to this idea of making a Surf's Up series. And not to mention that I did see some people also being a little bit cynical with the fact that nobody asked for a Surf's Up series technically. But there is one thing that I do look upon it, and there's kind of something sad about that announcement in particular. And that's mainly from the fact that I feel like, or maybe this is just from my perspective, this is just from my opinion, but it feels like this is an example of how Sony Animation is struggling when it comes to having viable franchises or having franchises that they could still go and actually continue forward, like making more stuff from. Because lately, Sony Animation honestly has been pretty dry when it comes to having like franchises that they could continue making new stuff again and again. Like, yeah, there are some franchises that they got that they could definitely be that they could be solid, but but I'm talking about more the business side of it. That the fact that they don't have as much franchises that are still alive and well compared to some of the other studios, like with Disney, DreamWorks, Illumination, and stuff like that. Like, it does make it concerning with how things are with Sony. I mean, like, you got Spider-Verse right now that it's pretty much getting close to its end, especially with Beyond the Spider-Verse that's going to be coming out in a few years. Hotel Transylvania, as I mentioned, there's going to be that other series that's coming out, Motel Transylvania. But then again, you could tell that with the Hotel Transylvania franchise, That's almost done right there. And I mean, they're lucky that they got K-pop Demon Hunters right now. That might give them a little bit more longevity. But the rest so far, unless they're going to go and try to make a franchise out of some of their newer stuff like Mitchell's vs. the Machines or Vivo. But then again, that would have to make them like work with Netflix right now. But the rest of like what they've established, stuff like Open Season, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, or the stuff that they no longer own, like Smurfs or the Angry Birds, like they're done, honestly. Like it's at the point where like, you know, Sony is going through by the skin of their teeth at this point in terms of their business. And that's why it just makes it a little bit concerning. And right now, yeah, they got, you know, they still have Spider-Verse for now. They got K-pop Demon Hunters, but what else? Maybe I know they got like, they got Ghostbuster, you know, like they do have a Ghostbusters movie with Netflix, but still though, like, they're just going like immediately, they're going through franchises just one after another. And especially in this climate of cinema that is all about franchises and already existing IPs, like that's not really a good look upon Sony Pictures Animation. I'm just saying. Like maybe their new original stuff that they got coming out, like Goat or Buzz, maybe that could work out in their favor. But for now, it's just, I don't know. At least this is from my perspective. It's just not going great in terms of viable franchises that Sony Animation has right now. But overall, though, this is all to go and say that when it comes to Surf's Up, the series, I'm going to be very cautious about it. I could see the potential where it can really work out. I could see where it could actually be fun and it could stay true to the spirit of the original Surf's Up movie. But at the same time, considering Sony Animation's track record when it comes to TV shows, and also with what we have recently seen with Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania, there is also that likelihood where things might not go well with this particular franchise. So overall, I think this is gonna be a bit of a wait and see if this is going to be worthwhile or not. All right, but with that said, now it is time. I'm going to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about a Surf's Up series? Are you guys excited to go and see what's going to be going on? Do you have too much doubt to think that this might actually be good? Let me know what you all think about this. All right, so let's see. I saw the original Surf's Up a few years ago, and I was really impressed with it. So much so that I think it's my favorite Sony Animation film, more so than the Spider-Verse films. However, as for the series, I feel a little bit iffy on this, especially with last time Sony tried to bring back Surf's Up with the WWE sequel, which failed badly. Then again, I see the potential of a Surf's Up series since the original characters are coming back, so overall, I'll wait and see on this. All right, that is fair. Let's see now. I do really enjoy the first Surf's Up, and this series does sound interesting, and at the very least, and as a sort of new generation sequel. But with all the bad track record Sony Animation has with series based on their movies, I'm not going to get my hopes up. By the way, did you know that before Surf's Up, Aardman was actually planning a mockumentary with the canceled feature Tortoise vs. Hare? I've heard a little bit about that before, not fully, but I am familiar with the idea that Aardman wanted to do something with the tortoise and the hare. That, you know, that does ring a bell. I will say that. Let's see now. I really do enjoy the original Surf's Up, and definitely one of Sony Animation's better movies. Honestly, I'm a little conflicted. I could see how they could continue the story of the original as long as it doesn't mention the second movie. However, given Sony Animation's track record with making animated series not being great, so overall we'll see. Also, with issues of Sony Animation not having many viable franchises, that's pretty much a problem with Sony Pictures in general. That is a fair point. Yeah, it is true that with it's not just a Sony Animation thing, it really is like a Sony Pictures thing in general. Yes, with Sony Pictures, they might have a bit more viable franchises going on. They're still going with, as I mentioned, with Ghostbusters or with Jumanji and stuff like that. But it is true, like when you do think about Sony Pictures, yeah, they don't have a lot going for them either. So I think that this definitely is an issue that is bigger than just Sony Pictures Animation. So you do bring up a good point. All right, let's see here. I love Surf's Up so much. It's definitely one of my top tier Sony animation films along with Spider-Verse and K-pop Demon Hunters. I think it's a good idea for this to be a series, just as long as it has the documentary style in the series. Also, Big Z coming back is a big bonus to me. Oh, and I'd like to mention that the soundtrack from Surf's Up is one of the best ones out there to listen to from Green Day and Pearl Jam. That soundtrack is great along with K-pop. Sony Animation has great taste in music. Yeah, I mean, their soundtracks, they ain't bad. I gotta give them that. Let's see now. And I mean, of course, you gotta bring up like the Spider-Verse ones. I mean, for God's sakes, like Sunflower or Danger. I mean, those are some top tier songs from Sony Animation right there. You cannot deny that. Let's see what other comments would be. All right, I think I'll just read one more here. All right, so let's see. I'm quite surprised that they're bringing back Surf's Up as a TV series. I have yet to see the first film, and I really definitely should one day if I can, but I could definitely see the potential of making a mockumentary animated series. Then again, since Wave Mania, I don't know, and please don't make me think about that one image of Vince drinking some fish milk. It's traumatizing, but yeah, I hope the series stays more to the original, and maybe it could be fun. All right, so I do see some mixed reception here. You know, some people can see the potential, but at the same time, it's like, considering the past experience that we've had with Surf's Up 2 and with other Sony animation series based on their movies, it's like, I don't know. We're keeping our hype to a very strict limit, if you catch my drift. But still, though, either way, I wish the team at Atomic Cartoons the best of luck on working on this show, and that hopefully you will prove our doubt wrong, and that you can make something awesome with Surf's Up. All right. So with that said, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go on to one more break, and when we do come back, we're going to be revisiting one of the biggest YouTube controversies in recent years. However, considering that we have mentioned before about revisionism and stuff like that, this might be a case where with this update to the story, some revisionism might be needed, or maybe we will see if this does deserve some revisionism. But before that, we'll be right back after this. And now, everyone, it is now time we will go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, I'm going to go and take a step aside from animation a little bit and go into my personal realm of YouTube, as I will be revisiting one of the biggest YouTube controversies that we've had in recent years. Now, you may recall back at the end of 2023 regarding the big drama related to Jirard Kahlil, aka the Completionist, in which there were certain other YouTubers, specifically Mutahar, also known as Some Ordinary Gamer, and Carl Jobs. They have exposed the Completionist of fraud, specifically with his family's charity, or with his not charity company, but his family's nonprofit organization, the Open Hand Foundation, in which it has turned out, despite the fact that for years they have been collecting thousands of dollars, upwards of $600,000 through charity streams like with IndieLand, or even outside of the internet, like with golf events and stuff like that. They did not give a single cent to any research or any other companies that would go and try to do the big cause that they want to go and support, or that they claim to support, which is to give the funds for more research for dementia. And from there, Jirard has received massive backlash, and he has been called a fraud for it, basically being full-on canceled. And not to mention having investigations upon him and upon the Open Hand Foundation. So from there, that you would think after that event at the end of 2023, the story of the Completionist is pretty much over. He is canceled and people have pretty much moved on from him. But very unexpectedly, we have received an update from Jirard himself, in which he posted a video called "You Deserve Answers." And in this video that is over 45 minutes, Jirard would go and not only explain his side of the entire situation, but he also went and issued an apology for his incompetence and also for the incompetence of the Open Hand Foundation, that they didn't go and donate the money sooner. In which the money, like eventually, yes, the money was actually given. Specifically, if I may go into, just to go into my research here, but he did state that he did give the money to the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration. I believe that's how you go and say that. But essentially, like he gave, eventually they gave the $600,000 plus to the AFTD, but it was only after that he got called out. But going back to the actual video, yes, Jirard would go and explain his side upon what happened during the controversy and the aftermath of the backlash that he has received, and the aftermath of the controversy, what this caused to him personally and what this caused to the entire foundation, and pretty much everything that has happened. And one thing that I'm just going to go and state right now, and like I might as well get this completely out of the way, I'm just going to go and say that this video does not absolve him of his sins. It's not like he is immediately uncanceled because of this. Because even though, yes, it is a good thing that Jirard did own up to his mistakes and to the Open Hand Foundation's mistakes and did actually apologize, there is still the fact that the Open Hand Foundation was still poorly handled by his family. There were still aspects of it in which they definitely did mess up, and that they should have been giving that money to research for dementia and other forms of research and treatment and stuff like that. Like, there is still that incompetence that they didn't do, that they were not doing as what they were promising, and that Jirard and the Open Hand Foundation were still not being as transparent to the audience and especially to the donors. And that is still a massive screw up. But then again, one thing I will give Jirard credit for that aspect is that he did explain that when it comes to actually donating for research, for actually giving that large sum of money, he does explain pretty well that it is a process that it is more complicated than it seems. It's not as simple as just, here's the money, you can have it, now go do more research for dementia. It's not like that at all. Like, for nonprofit organizations to go and make these large amount of donations for those types of research, like, there is a lot more to it. There's a lot of papers that you got to go and sign. There's a lot of documents to go through. Like, it is actually a very complicated process in order to go and fill in, and in order to go and actually, accomplish before the money can go and actually be donated. But even at that, though, there is still a part of it that it is due to the incompetence of the Kahlil family. There is still an element in which they have actually screwed up. So if anything, I think like the biggest problem of what happened with what Jirard and the Kahlil family did, it's mostly just that. It's that they were being incompetent, and that what they have done with the Open Hand Foundation, how they were organizing the Open Hand Foundation, it wasn't really the smartest thing. They weren't really being the brightest in terms of handling the money and doing what they want to do. Because in Jirard's words, they said that they wanted to wait until they gathered up to $1 million so that they can go and give the money and all in that one big shot so that they could be taken seriously as a nonprofit organization. But as you could tell, that that mindset, that patience, it ultimately did screw them over. So in that regards, it wasn't, I don't think there actually is a case of a fraud. It's just the fact that they were being dumb about it. So so overall in this case, there's no actual malicious intent that's involved. It's just, being, it's more a case of just being big dum-dums with too much money that is supposed to be given for a good cause. But with that said, though, so yes, in the case of Jirard, he did own up to his and his family's stupidity, and he did apologize, which, again, that's actually a good thing. But there is also another factor about this story that, let's just say, is going more in Jirard's favor, because there actually is a reevaluation going on with this entire controversy. And that is actually in regards to the people who have called out Jirard, again, specifically with Mudahar and Carl Jobs. And that is especially the case with Carl Jobs. Because for those of you who don't know, Carl Jobs, just like a quick summary of who he is, he's known as a video game speedrunner, but he managed to get his fame by calling people out who are cheaters in the speedrunning community, or calling out other bad actors that are on YouTube and on the internet in general. And one target that he has, that he would go after many times, is video game champion Billy Mitchell, who is not a well-liked figure in the video game world. And he does have a pretty bad reputation where allegedly he has been known to have cheated in the video games that he has said to have championed, such as Donkey Kong and Pac-Man. And he does have a history of frequently going to court, of going after his critics. And there was one moment where Billy Mitchell did actually go against Carl Jobs and sued him because Carl Jobs would go and say that Billy Mitchell is a cheater. So you would think that, yeah, Carl Jobs, of course, is the hero because he is the victim of a massive slap lawsuit. Well, not everything is as it seems, because that is the narrative that Carl would go and say to his audience. In actuality, Billy Mitchell would go and sue Carl for something that is very serious and something that Carl actually did. And that is the fact that Carl accused Billy Mitchell of being responsible for having one other gamer for taking away his life. There's this one person, a gamer by the name of Apollo Legend, in which he's known in the gaming community for also breaking video game records and stuff like that. But he also has a history of mental health issues and a lot of like depression and stuff like that. And Carl has accused Billy Mitchell of going after Apollo, like really pushing him to the point of taking away his life, which turns out to not be true. And that is the reason why Billy Mitchell would go and sue Carl Jobs. And in the end, it turns out that Billy Mitchell actually won that case. And it pretty much shocked everyone. Like, everybody was taken aback, like, wait, Billy Mitchell won? Carl lost? Why? What happened? And that's when it was revealed that that's the actual reason why Billy would go and sue Carl. And that's the point where Carl's reputation really got shattered, not because that he lost, but because he wasn't being honest with his audience. And from there, ever since he lost that lawsuit, his reputation and his fame just went down and down. And that's why now there is a little bit of this reevaluation with what he did with Mutahar going after Jirard the Completionist, analyzing what they did with their interrogation, looking into how they looked upon the financial records of the Open Hand Foundation and stuff like that. And there are some people who suddenly realize, wait a minute, this is actually kind of amateurish, and some of the things they were saying is not necessarily true. In fact, there is actually another video, and this is something that Jirard himself actually did share with his people. It's this video that actually came from an actual accountant, like someone whose job is to do these kinds of financial filings, called Accounting on YouTube, in which he made a video called Carl Jobs and Mutahar Don't Know What They Are Doing, Accountant Explains. And he even made a part 2. Now, this is a big video. It's over 90 minutes long, but he actually goes down like bit by bit, explaining how a nonprofit organization needs to do all the paperwork in order to go and make a big donation. And where is it that Carl Jobs and Mutahar, where is it that they went wrong? And to go back into the factor of Jirard, another thing that is also very problematic is actually in regards to their motives, their motivation to why they would go after Jirard and go after the Open Hand Foundation. Because as it turns out, for them, it's not actually about doing the right thing. It's not about getting the money be donated to dementia research. You know, it's not about having the Kahlil family take responsibility for not organizing the Open Hand Foundation properly or stuff like that. Their motives are actually more destructive. And they have actually expressed that what they actually want, their top priority, is for Jirard to be canceled. They want to ruin this man. They want to destroy his career, destroy his reputation. Like, they're not satisfied until Jirard is completely taken down, which is not a healthy way of approaching controversies. It's kind of like with what I've seen last week with the Jimmy Kimmel controversy, where after his show was reinstated, after Jimmy Kimmel came back and we got that happy ending to that story, there were some people who were not actually happy with what happened, because the outcome that they wanted is that they desperately want Disney to be destroyed. They're just fixated in just taking down Disney, letting out all their energy of their Disney hate. And all they want to see is for thousands of jobs to be lost. They want the theme parks to all close down. And they just want the entire Walt Disney Company to be destroyed. Like, that's their motive. And that honestly is a problematic perspective. And as I mentioned last week, it's one of the prominent examples as to why Disney haters are much worse and far more problematic than Disney adults. So this is all pretty much to go and say that the motive of trying to destroy someone instead of seeing the right thing actually happen is a factor that does make it problematic and does not look good for either Carl Jobs or Mutahar. So there is an element in there in which, there are some aspects in which I would say Jirard is a bit of a victim. Not to mention that he said from his perspective when facing this controversy, like you probably recall if you're familiar with what happened, that there was also an interview that Mudahar and Carl did with Jirard. And it turns out that Mudahar actually misled Jirard because I don't know if he said it to Jirard or at the very least, he didn't mention anything, but Mudahar said that he wanted to do an interview with Jirard, but left out the aspect that it would be an interview with Carl and Mudahar, which led to Jirard being taken aback and be completely thrown off. And why is it that he sound pretty panicky in his interview right there? So yeah, from all of this, there is a bit of a reevaluation with what happened with this whole controversy, where the accusers, Mudahar and Carl, they're not really innocent, and it's not a situation that is like full on black and white, considering that they have problems of their own that, you know, could be as bad as what Jirard faced, at least at the time. So overall, I just want to go and say that does the video that he calls "You Deserve Answers," does that completely redeem Jirard? Honestly, no. I don't think so. There are some things that I feel like, yeah, he should still be held accountable for. There are still some things that he and his family really screwed up with the Open Hand Foundation, and that honestly, they should have handled not just the controversy, but just the organization and how they would go and donate. They should have handled it better, and that they should have had a more professional approach in terms of regularly giving money for dementia research instead of just waiting until they could do like one massive shot. But I will say, however, this is a good step in the right direction. Jirard is doing the right thing with this video to go and address the controversy, to explain his side of the whole situation, and actually apologizing and holding accountability for what he has done. So honestly, I feel like at this point, the Completionist getting a second chance is not impossible. I can even go as far and say that, honestly, if he keeps this up, I think there is a likelihood that we could see that he is redeemed. So yeah, Jirard is not redeemed now, but over time, I think he can be redeemed. I am someone who does believe that people do deserve to get second chances if they can prove that they can actually earn it. If they've learned their lesson of their screw-ups, then yes, they should go and actually have a second chance. And I think over time, like maybe not now, but maybe I would say somewhere in 2026, I think Jirard's image should definitely improve, and hopefully things can actually turn out to be better for Jirard, because I will admit, even like for how bad that he screwed up, I do have a bit of empathy for him, like going through that kind of controversy. I can imagine it's really not that fun. So I think this is going to be a case where, like, you know, Jirard is doing the right thing by taking these steps in order to hold himself accountable and to try to go and improve his image. But really, ultimately, it's going to take some time for that completionist image to go and improve. But again, honestly, I do think that it definitely is possible. And I just want to go and say this right now before anybody would have their doubts and want to antagonize Jirard. I just want to say, if Doug Walker can go and have a second chance, if some people are just openly cool to go and say that Doug Walker is on the rise again, despite the fact that he has a history of poorly treating his coworkers down to the point that it could be considered abuse, and that he went and actually covered up for an actual sexual predator, and never once to this day that he ever apologized for it. And yet some people can look past that and say, Nah, it's cool. The Nostalgia Critic is fun to watch again. He appeared on Smiling Friends. Yeah, Nostalgia Critic is rising. You know, if people could go and do that, then you have no excuse to not forgive Jirard. I am just saying. So honestly, when it comes to the situation with Jirard, yeah, honestly, it will take some time, but he's on, I think right now, if he keeps this up, he's on a good path to actually get that second chance. So with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the update that Jirard has done in relation to the controversy? Have you guys seen the You Deserves Answers video? And I would like to know what you think about it, and also, do you think Jirard deserves a second chance? Let me know what you all think about this. All right, so, let's see. Well, what a way to end the episode. I honestly barely heard anything about this guy and his controversy. All I could say that it's a huge yikes in my eyes. So to cheer up, I met Dan Hauser at LACC last week. He's the co-founder of Rockstar Games and co-worked on all the Grand Theft Auto games and Red Dead games. Haven't been mind-blowing meeting an amazing storyteller since Jennifer Lee last year. Well, that's actually awesome, dude. Yeah, I know that I kind of end this off on a pretty heavy note, but I just feel like, you know, considering this is about YouTube and like as a YouTuber, I thought I would go and give my piece about this and talking, you know, and discussing about having second chances. In fact, like honestly, a part of me that got me interested in talking about this is with it's mainly because you guys probably know Anthony Giuliani. I think that's how you say his name. Ant, I apologize if I got your name wrong there, but he recently put out a great video about apology videos. Honestly, it is very interesting, like looking into like some of them that may work and some of them that fail, like discussing about like the anime dude's apology or I Love Kim Possible a Lot's failed attempt of an apology video. So there are those that he looked upon. So highly recommend that you check that out, by the way. Anyways, let's see. I will say, I've only seen a handful of videos from the Completionist, mainly top 10 videos. When it comes to his response to his controversy, I will applaud him for actually owning up to his mistakes and did the right thing by donating the money to the research they promised. Didn't got much to say, but I bet it's a better apology than how KP apologized for the Saberspark controversy. Her response video sucked balls. Yeah, honestly, it's one of those reasons why over time, I'm kind of glad to have separated myself from KP. I mean, like, I know I was a little bit late to the party for that, but still, though, it's just now, like, I see more and more of her true colors, and it's like, I need to back away from that. Okay, let's see. Honestly, I've never been really familiar with the Completionist as a YouTuber, but I am aware of this whole controversy, and it really is a mess. And while he acknowledged his mistake and his family, it still doesn't change a lot of the things that happen with the charity. Also, with people who tried to go after him, it's basically no different than what KP tried to do with Saberspark with that controversy. Also, she made a response video about the situation, and it is cringe. Yeah, exactly. Like the thing is that sure, Jirard and the Open Hand Foundation is not innocent, but neither are the accusers either. So there is that. And again, at least like more than what I could say right now than with Mudahar and with Carl, at least like Jirard is doing the right thing with this. So like I can give him credit on that. Any other comments to go and read? I guess there's not a lot, but I guess there's, let's see if there's one more that I can get into if someone wants to go and bring up here. I believe Jirard deserves a second chance more than VS Hojo or V Shoujo or something like that, considering they both technically did the same thing. All right, but hey, it is worth discussing, and I thought I would just go and let out my thoughts on that situation. But with that said and done, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Hey, it's great to be back doing this live again, and to do this in front of you all. I definitely had a blast, and I hope you all did as well. And I just want to go and say that if you guys have enjoyed this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and you want to follow for more crazy episodes that will be coming, then all you have to do is go to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel and subscribe to that, and also to go and subscribe to my Twitch channel, AniMat Live. At the same time, if you guys are listening to this on any podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and more, don't forget to go and follow me there. And with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.